Wrestling Audio Revolution presents The Run-In Show with your hosts, Commissioner Shan Cunningham and Shotgun Shan.
Oh, well, that's the way to start a show. That's the way you start a brand new show. Thank you, everybody. It warms my heart. I'm so glad to be back here. My name is Shotgun Shan, and this is the Run-In Show. Now, if you've been following Wrestling Audio Revolution in the past, and you've followed our brand, you may have listened to War Weekly, you may have listened to War Vintage Update, you may have even followed the War Super Show. This is a whole new show. Those shows are behind us. We're heading into a brand new phase. And, if you've been a fan in the past, we thank you. If you're absolutely new to the program, we apologize in advance. No, I'm just kidding. This is going to be a really good time. Are you like me, kids? Do you like your wrestling to be fun? Do you wish wrestling was a bit more fun these days? I know in the old days, I never really worried about what was going on backstage, and I never spent a lot of time complaining about stuff. And I'd like to get back to that place, and I know my partner in crime, the brains behind the operation, feels exactly the same way. I would be remiss if I didn't bring him out right now. Ladies and gentlemen, the most respected man in wrestling journalism, the heart and soul of Wrestling Audio Revolution, I give you the Commissioner, Shan Cunningham. How are you, Sean?
I am doing very well. Thank you very, very much for that warm and probably giving me a little too much credit introduction, but I appreciate it.
You know what? I underplayed it, man. I even played it down a little bit. You deserve more. How does it feel to be back on the air?
It's so much fun. I've been so excited, especially with everything that's gone on in the last 5 or 6 days in the world of wrestling. It's getting really interesting.
We're really hitting it on a good week, aren't we?
We are. We absolutely are.
Like, if you want to start a new show to talk about wrestling, this is the week to do it. Folks, we've got a lot of things planned for you today. We're going to be covering Money in the Bank. There's a lot of news in the wrestling world. We've also got a couple of fun games, a couple of little segments here to make you laugh. And the whole thing is based, I really think, Sean, that this show and the concept behind this show is based behind something you said in our very last War Super Show. When you said, I really like wrestling to be fun. That really resonated with me. And I was just thinking, I think that WWE in particular has worn us down over the past couple of years. Did you get that feeling?
Totally, I do. But every so often when I watch the product, I start looking for hope. And one of the things that came out of this week, I have some hope. Absolutely. We'll talk about that as we go on.
Absolutely, and we will hit on that as we move forward. So, folks, just buckle yourselves in and get ready. I think we're going to have a good time today. Sean, I think that the very first thing we need to hit on before we go anywhere else is this year's Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Are they still called pay-per-view? No, they're called special events.
They still say pay-per-view on television, so I don't know, and they're still sold as pay-per-views, although they mock you if you pay for it.
Isn't that an interesting idea?
Well, I don't know why they're mocking those people that want to pay an extra $40. That's their choice, I guess. But
what it comes down to is, I guess they just get more revenue out of more subscribers to the network. I don't know.
Well, the idea is you're cutting out the middleman, because when you order pay-per-view, you have to pay all the individual cable companies to distribute it, right?
Yeah.
There's a cost, inherent cost in that. Whereas having the network, in theory, you've eliminated that.
This is true.
It all comes back to money.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's kind of the way WWE has been leaning these days anyway. I have my own comments about that they've been kind of sacrificing some of the product in order to gain more revenue, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Sean, what did you think of this year's Money in the Bank show overall?
I was excited going in, and then there were things that I saw that made me more excited, and things that made me think I was watching Raw or SmackDown on a Sunday night, which isn't the way that it should be. But as we go through some of the main highlights of what happened, and some of the stuff that we omit for those people that saw it and know, we'll figure out what we're leaving out. But mainly, what I want to address is the 4 or 5 really big matches and the big stuff that came out of this show.
Yeah, and I mean those big matches and those big moments were big, like really big, I think. Yeah. Significant. I think more significant things have happened over the past few days, this past week, than I can remember in the past, 6 months to a year even. So, I mean, I see where you're going with this, man. I'm going to step back and let you take it.
Well, the matches I want to talk about, first of all, I want to talk about the tag team Fatal 4-Way match, which had Enzo and Cass versus the Vaudevillains versus Anderson and Gallows versus the New Day. I liked this match a lot more than I thought I would, and I'm shocked they kind of used it to open the show. Hint, hint. And just the what they did and didn't do, they basically allowed everybody to get their spots eventually. But I felt the match was largely carried by Enzo and Kofi at the beginning.
I agree with you. And you know what? You made a great point there. I thought that like a four-way, just a regular four-way singles match with just like four guys is hard to do and do well. A four-way with four teams is even harder. And I thought that they really managed to, by the end of that match, make everybody look good.
Yeah, everybody looks strong. And it's really crazy when you look at it. And I think I tweeted it. When you factor in some stuff that happened on the pre-show, I don't remember a time there was that many established tag teams.
Yeah.
In WWE. And I worry for what's coming in a few weeks. And we haven't addressed the draft yet, what they may or may not do.
That, the thing is that they may have the temptation to split some of these teams up because they have so many. I really hope they don't. No. Because, I love tag team wrestling. This kind of strong competition and this kind of strong roster is pretty unheard of lately, at least in North American wrestling. So please, if any of our listeners from the WWE brass are listening, please don't break up some of these big tag teams. There's some guys that still have an awful lot of story to be told.
Like here's the thing: they've built all this roster. They've spent the last couple of years, singles or tag, or even the women's, building up these rosters. And I worry they're going to break them. But that's probably an aside that we'll get to down the road. Maybe even on the show once we get closer to the draft.
The draft. What's the official date for the draft?
The official date for the draft will be the first live SmackDown on the 19th of July.
Wow! So it's looming. It's looming,
and it's just before Battleground. So Battleground could look very different. Going into that show and how they're going to book that show could get really interesting. But to bring us back to the four-way, I like the four-way because everybody looks strong. Everybody got in their spots near the end and it didn't look muddled. Oh, their timing was really good, I thought. The finish surprised me though with the New Day retaining. I didn't think that I had Anderson and Gallows going over. I really did.
I had Anderson and Gallows going over too, but I really feel like they're going to leave Anderson and Gallows out of the tag title picture for a while as they continue this feud with AJ and Cena, which we'll get to a little later. Yeah. I think this match kind of showed that New Day are still going to be doing their thing, and on Raw the next night they had their showdown with the Wyatts. What do you think about that?
There was a moment there watching Xavier Woods. I don't know if you saw what I saw.
Well, what did you see?
That moment where he was supposed to do his bit and he seemed very mesmerized by Bray.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was he literally slipped up, which I don't think it was, or it was they're doing this tease where he's going to start kind of leaning toward listening to Bray and maybe eventually he starts joining up with the Wyatts.
That would be a crazy turn. And I hope they don't break New Day up for that reason. At least even if they do break them up, I hope that they let this feud play out. Because I think New Day against the Wyatts could be really, really
it could be so much fun. So much fun. And honestly, I was a little shocked to see the Wyatts because there was no promo, no nothing. It was there was video 5 minutes before they came out. And that was it. I thought that was really strange.
Oh, yeah.
You false started them so many times, I don't even... That's
the thing, and it's unfortunate, but they lose a little bit of their luster, right? Because they've given us the Bray Wyatt push or the Wyatts push, and then something's happened, and sometimes it's just been an injury or whatever.
Yeah, currently I think everybody's coming back from injuries, and Luke Harper's actually not even there right now. So
yeah.
So is he not away doing a movie? I believe.
I thought he was. I don't know.
I think I read something to that effect that he's away.
Oh, there's some
horror film.
There's so many Wyatts. After a while, all the big guys with beards, I think they can get away with Luke being missing for a while. I love Luke Harper, but I think they can get away with him missing for a little while. Yeah. But yeah, that match. I mean, I think the finish to the match was strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because you had an awful lot of guys getting a whole bunch of finishers done. So anybody that got pinned in this didn't end up looking like a baby. You know what I mean?
No, and I believe the pin went to Simon Gotchu, and I think he got pinned by Kofi. And they don't move down really because they really, not sure the Vaughn Villains or Anthony Cash should have been in that match anyway.
Yeah.
To be honest, and that's nothing against their talent. I love all four of them; they're really talented guys. I just thought you could have done better with a New Day versus Anderson Gallows match.
I agree.
They don't seem to want to do.
I don't mind if they hold off on it as long as the plan is to address it down the road. I mean, I don't fault them for taking their time. I think far too often they rush things through. Yeah. Roman Reigns. But you know what I mean? Far too often they're in a hurry. And I think if they want to look at these guys and go, yeah, we can deal with this. And I think once they do, I do think it'll kind of switch over to Allison. Who's this Allison? Anderson and Gallows. I think it will become their time. So maybe they're just going to let New Day play it out for a little bit first. But I have no problem with them backing up AJ for now because I think Cena's such a big deal that having AJ and having backup continuously is not a bad thing. But we'll get to that.
No, it's not. You went to the women's tag match, which kind of had a weird build, which had a even weirder finish. Dana Brooke and Charlotte went over, and then Natty turned heel.
Yeah, now did you see that coming?
No, I didn't at all.
I didn't either. And you know what? I have mixed feelings on that, Sean, because I don't necessarily like the way they do it, and it seemed far too abrupt and unbelievable. But at the same time, it means that Natty's going to have more to do. And I think that's a good thing. I don't think Natty's got too many more years left in her. No. I kind of get the impression that she's kind of pulling away a little bit. So having her do another good run, a heel run, whatever, near the top of the card makes me happy. And Natalya and Becky feud is good for me too.
I do. I'm not sure about this for Becky though. This is like the third time in less than a year that people have turned on Becky, and you keep doing this and trying to make Becky a sympathetic figure. You do it too many times, you burn out the idea.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think she needs to have her own program based around her own abilities and not the backstabbing.
Because she's so talented. I just feel she's so underused.
Me too. Like, I'll say it right now, and I'm not embarrassed to back this up. I think that the women's division should be built around Becky Lynch. I think she's got the best character on TV. She does the best promos, and she's fantastic in the ring. And a great look. Like, there's nobody has a look like Becky.
No.
So, I think I'm hoping that they're just biding their time, and that this isn't the whole thing they have planned for Becky Lynch.
No, I hope not. Because, like you said, I agree with all 3 points, and this is my personal bias. I think she's probably the best looking of the group too.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
As an attractive, not looking distorted by training for wrestling for all those years.
She's got a fresh look, and it's part of what makes her, I think, really appealing is that how expressive she is, right? Yeah. So, I mean, that's part of the thing that gets across. She gets across more to the audience, I think, than anybody else in the women's division right now. She connects with them in a very, very different way than other people do, and I hope they don't waste that.
No. But I worry about WWE because they do things like that.
Well, they do. But remember, we're focusing on positivity.
That's
Sean.
right. That's right.
We're having fun.
And then for that point, we got into the good stuff.
Exactly. And the good stuff was good.
The good stuff was very good. I believe, and I make the argument they did this out of order. They went to AJ versus Cena, third main out, or what I thought was third for them because I had forgotten about a match at that point in the night. AJ looked like $1 million. Cena helped him look even better, as if AJ really needs more help to look good. This match, I felt at different points might have gone a little long. It lagged for 15 to 30 second intervals, I thought. But really, really good match. Wasn't happy with the ending, but understood the ending and expected it.
I didn't like the ending, but at the end, the ending kind of signaled the fact that this is going to go on, and I think that's a good thing. I think, if nothing else, this match continues to prove that AJ Styles is the new Shawn Michaels. Really, for this generation. He's the guy that can step in with anybody, put on a classic match, and the better the opponent you give him, the farther up he's able to ratchet the quality of the match. This was a great match. This was a great Cena match. Like, I really thought, he pulled things out of Cena that I hadn't seen in a while. And I really respected the fact that Cena in his return match was willing to drop it to AJ, even with the wonky finish.
Well, yeah.
I think that said volumes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does, but I also I think Cena understands where he is in his own career.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't need to have the belt to be the guy.
Yeah.
To steal a line here. He knows he's the top guy regardless, and he's going to be in with top talent. He understands that the belt is a little bit of a prop, unfortunately, and he's getting older now. We don't know how much more time we really are going to have him full time anyway.
You know, the funny thing is, Sean, and you hit on it there too, is that they're always marveling over how Cena comes back early from injury. They're always like, oh, he was supposed to be out 9 months, came back in 5. That's not necessarily a good thing, guys. Not for your long-term health. Coming back early, it might make you look as though you're superhuman. But I imagine that underneath all that, there is some healing that didn't get done properly, and he's been through that a few times. Yeah, so I agree. I mean, the more times that he has to come back from something like this, I think it's shaving time off the end of his career.
Well, I'm starting to wonder, though, that the last couple of injuries that I remember, and I might be missing one, there starts to be a pattern where it's getting injured kind of in the same area.
Yeah.
You had the torn pec muscle, and then you had, I think this was a rotator cuff in the shoulder. I'm pretty sure in the same area where he tore the pec muscle.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Is it the same side?
I'm not sure, but you know what? That would make sense anyway.
But just to think about that, if this continues to happen in that same area, you really wonder how much longer you have him for.
Yeah. Yeah. The good thing about John Cena is I think he has so much to offer, and he's already offered so much, that even if his in-ring career is diminished down to the point that he's wrestling Undertaker's schedule, I think he can still be an asset. I think he can still be of value. Yeah.
Absolutely. But we know that the AJ Cena feud will continue. It continued further on Monday. Done expertly well, I thought, by everybody involved.
I did too. I was wondering where it was going at the beginning with AJ making everybody apologize, but I liked the way that
I thought the cheesiness was like, okay, don't make this whole thing cheesy, and then they did the right thing, and I'm like, yes.
Exactly. And you know what? Here's a question to ask you, Sean. They kept building this up as they were getting toward the match. They were sort of a WrestleMania quality match. They said that over and over again. I'm almost wondering if they're setting the table down the road to carry this feud throughout the year, maybe into next year, where they can do a few matches, disappear, go fight other guys, come back. Because I really think that the chemistry between these two guys would work if they had sort of a final showdown at WrestleMania.
And I think this match was a test. Yeah. For that exact thing. I completely 100% agree with you, and I won't be surprised that we get to WrestleMania 33 in Orlando, that is a match, if not a main event.
Could be.
On that show.
Could be, and I think people would like it. I mean, as long as they don't burn it out, I think these guys have the right kind of, not even just the right styles, but the right mystique around them as far as what they mean historically to wrestling. Yep. That they could have them feud, for the better part of a year and not have the audience lose interest.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. But to move on through this quickly, we then went to the Money in the Bank ladder match.
Oh yeah.
Again, really good match. Everybody got their stuff in really well. I noticed Jericho didn't do as much in this match. I wondered if there was something to that, or if you noticed the same thing.
I did. You know what? It was my feelings about this match is that everyone tried to take it up a level. Cesaro in particular was flying all over the place. I don't remember him being aerial as much as he was in this match. I don't know.
No, you're right.
I know that some guys took some crazy risks. The thing that stands out for me, Sean, do you remember when Sami Zayn does the Michinoku driver on the ladder with Owens?
Yes.
On a ladder that's turned on its side.
Yeah.
Spine. Back.
Metal. No space.
I couldn't understand it. I actually physically, I winced. I grabbed my own back, which of course was silly, but I was so freaked out by what was going on, and I kept thinking that was foolish. And here, we're going to talk about the rest of the match, but this introduces something that was bouncing around my head. They do this every year, and they'll throw this Money in the Bank match at least once. If they do the brand split, they may be doing two.
Two again. Yeah, we're back to two again.
They had one at Mania, and they like to throw one in every once in a while. And guys are expected to show you something new every time. Thank goodness we've not had a career-ending injury in any of these matches. How much longer do you think they can work at this pace with these ladder matches, with these expectations, before something bad happens?
I am shocked they've lasted this long. To be completely truthful, I am surprised we still see 2 or 3 a year.
Yeah.
I think it should be one, and it should be it. And I think, unfortunately, I think we're going to get more.
Yeah, I think
agree
you're
with you.
right. I think you're right. But it's just every time they go out, I kind of say this little quiet prayer in my head. Oh, don't let anybody, get their career ended. I mean, we've had some serious injuries. I know Sheamus and Sin Cara both taken some bad injuries, and other guys have gotten hurt and been out for a little while. But I mean, when you watch the match from this year's Money in the Bank, there were so many spots where I figured the guy was not coming back up for it. He wasn't going to be there.
And then they do, and you're like,
crazy.
Yeah.
What were your favorite spots in this match?
My favorite spot is the one they keep showing, just because it was the most innovative spot, and nobody died. When they set up the ladder bridges, and then you could technically see all 6 of them almost trying to climb the one ladder at the same time. They're all fighting separately. Probably the safest spot I've ever seen in a Money in the Bank ladder match, but still the coolest to look at.
It was cool to look at, and as I'm watching it, I'm doing kind of the math here. I'm like, you got 6 guys all attached to these ladders that are only slightly the horizontal ones are only slightly wedged in against the ring ropes, which are moving. That whole structure could have collapsed at any point.
Yeah.
And in which case, that could have been really bad. But some great stuff in that match. You're right about Jericho. He was more like a punching bag in this one than an offense machine. I know Cesaro threw him around a lot. And Ambrose threw him around a lot. He seemed to be getting the beat down on everybody. What did you think of all the uppercut party and then the cannonball party segments that they ran in a row there?
Well, those are fine because those are spots that we've seen, and I think if you didn't do them, there would be something really wrong.
Yeah.
Like people would wonder if you didn't do them. I worry about those 2 particular guys and also Sami Zayn, who all do. Those are the 3 guys that seem to do the ridiculous spots.
Yeah.
Every time they go into these matches, and I worry for them. They've kind of taken over from the Shelton, Benjamin, and Kofi Kingston positions.
Yes,
of
exactly.
doing the ridiculous spots. But I noticed even the ridiculous spots seem a little toned down, and it's us as fans going, ooh, because we're starting to learn more about body parts and physiology and concussions and all those things that make us nervous.
Yeah, another part that freaked me out on that was when Owens powerbombed, I think it was Sami Zayn on the ladder. Was it Sami Zayn he powerbombed on the ladder?
Yeah, I think so.
Powerbomb? I remember seeing that the ladder didn't give it all, and I was like, oh man, that's gotta smart.
Well, here's the thing. And then the 2 of them come out and are the first match on Raw. And I'm like, you can see they're both limping and struggling. I'm like, everybody else got the night off? Like, what's up with that?
Do you know what the beauty of it is, though? The chemistry between those 2 guys can go on for years.
Oh, I know.
Years and years. I don't care how many times they put them together on pay-per-view or just on regular show, just on regular TV. I always sit down and watch it because, first of all, they're both phenomenal wrestlers. And second of all, the history they have built in means the drama never really wanes, No. It's not manufactured.
No, it's not. And I understand why they continually put them out there because it's a solid match every time.
Yeah, and it's only good for the 2 of them. I mean, in some cases, the overexposure is not good, but I think the fact that The Office keeps using those 2 guys in that particular feud says volumes for what they think of them.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But to get to the finish of the ladder match, the finish wasn't really anything spectacular more than a surprise. Everybody kind of got knocked out of the ring.
Yeah. And
Ambrose managed to climb the ladder.
Yeah. And
fight off
Owens
at the end. That's right, because he fell into the ladder bridge.
Well, I loved the part just before he fell where Ambrose reaches through the rungs of the ladder and starts pulling him into the base of it.
And ramming his face.
Yeah. It was a subtle spot. It wasn't one of those big crazy spots, but I liked it.
Well, it's something you should do. I was nervous. Like, if they do that, sometimes that ladder's going to go.
Yeah.
And if that ladder goes, then the entire finish of the match is screwed.
Yeah, exactly.
But it wasn't. The ladder stayed up, and Ambrose won the briefcase, as he predicted.
And how funny is that they telegraphed this, but they telegraphed it in such a way that you believed that the telegraphing meant it wasn't going to happen, instead of that it was. You know what I mean?
I went on Facebook at 5 o'clock and said that exact thing.
Yeah.
Prior to the show. But I wonder if the telegraphing has something to do with something else.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute, but I don't doubt that it does. But the fact that they went through with it says something about Dean Ambrose.
Yeah.
And I think, regardless of the circumstances that led up to it, I think Dean Ambrose has shown himself to be a guy, really what I know you and myself and some of our other compatriots had said, that Dean Ambrose really is the charisma guy out of the Shield and really
absolutely.
was not used properly when that group split up. So congratulations to Dean Ambrose. Fantastic,
yes,
fantastic ladder match. And again, thank God nobody got hurt.
But it wasn't the last we saw of Mr. Ambrose.
That's true.
We move on to the WWE World Heavyweight title match with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, and the crowd did what everybody knew the crowd was going to do.
Yep.
They cheered Seth and booed Roman out of the building, even in Vegas. And it was a much better match especially for Seth, who hasn't worked in 7-8 months. Seth looked great.
It was a great return for Seth Rollins. You're right. He didn't miss a step. He looked fantastic. Roman I'll give Roman the credit that he deserves. He has improved greatly as a wrestler to the point that he could have that match with Seth and Seth's first match back, and nothing really looked off in it. I didn't think anything in that match looked off.
No, their timing was excellent. All the cells works. Everything was done well. That match, I felt, went a little long. And I'd like to point out, at this point, it was well after 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And the show was still going on, and I'm like, something doesn't seem right here.
Yeah.
But I found out later on that they were scheduled to go to 11:30, but that goes into something I'll mention later on as well.
Yeah.
But Seth magically wins the title back.
And you get that moment. You get that moment for Seth, right?
It's like, yes, okay, we'll go back to where we were. It was okay. And then the music hits.
And the crowd goes crazy.
As they started looking for, the music is playing and everybody turns to the entrance, and all of a sudden, from behind, typical heel move, you'd think, right? Gloms Seth with the briefcase. Seth is like stumbling all over the place. It was crowds eating it up because they were already gone bonkers. And then he goes to the referee and cashes in and waits for Seth to get up and basically gives him dirty deeds, and that was it. And we have a second new WWE World Heavyweight Champion of the night.
It was like a double layer cake, wasn't it? Because I really had been hoping that Roman would drop it soon. It needed to happen. So we got to have Seth win it from Roman and then Dean win it from Seth. So it was a great moment there. And how much, again, this says volumes for Dean Ambrose, that they let him come in and do the heel move, knowing that he was going to get over as the face. That's a dynamic character. I hope everyone's paying attention because there was a fella named Stone Cold not that long ago who made big money for WWE that did the same kind of stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And it was neat. And they pointed this out on TV on Monday as well, that all within a 20-minute period, all three members of the Shield held the WWE title. So.
Yeah. Well, some big stuff came out of this show and in the fallout, and we're going to deal with that in just a minute. But before we get to that, folks, as we've been saying, we're trying to keep this fun. We're trying to make wrestling fun again. And so we've got a little segment that we've been working on here that's going to be kind of fun for Sean. We're going to put Sean on the spot, but that's okay. He can handle pressure. That's why he gets paid the big money. That's why he's the commissioner. He's cool under pressure. So now, Sean, we're going to play a little game called Kayfabe or Kayfake. Now let me explain this to you folks, and you can play along at home if you want to. I'm going to ask Sean a series of wrestling trivia questions. They're all a little bit, most of them are pretty bizarre. Some of them are true, some of them are completely made up, but they're all a little bit crazy. Sean has to decide if they're kayfabe, meaning true, or kayfake, meaning false. And Sean, by all means, I don't want to put you under pressure. You can just say true or false. You can just say yes or no. It doesn't really matter. The only thing is you need to be able to determine whether these facts are true or if they're just something I made up in my spare time, which I do make facts up in my spare time. It's kind of fun. Are you ready?
I am as ready as I can be.
Okay, now I'm going to start you off with one that's relatively easy. It's at least something that's a bit more commonly known. So here's question number 1, Sean. The driver of Rhythm and Blues' pink Cadillac at WrestleMania 6 would go on to be a multi-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion. Is that kayfabe or is that kayfake?
That is kayfabe because that was Diamond Dallas Page.
You are absolutely right. Sean, you're off to a great start. And Diamond Dallas Page was driving that Cadillac during that WrestleMania 6 match. And then I think it was like 12 years later, wasn't it WrestleMania 18 that he finally got to actually be at WrestleMania?
Which is ironic because they're both in the same venue.
Yeah, crazy, eh? Crazy. So fantastic start, Sean. That's right. So 1 point for Sean if you're playing at home. And please, I need to mention this, folks. If you're playing at home, remember that this is just an exhibition, not a competition. Please, no wagering. We don't want anyone getting in with the bookies on this, okay?
No, we don't need people coming to break thumbs, you know?
Exactly. Okay, question number 2, Sean. This is a tricky one. The phrase "holy guacamole" was accidentally coined in 1981 by luscious Johnny Valiant when he flubbed a line during an AWA promo. Is that kayfabe or is that kayfake?
Okay. I'm going to say it's Kayfake, even though it does sound totally believable.
You are right, sir. Now, Sean, I have to say this, and I don't mean to cast aspersions, but you are not looking at these up on your smartphone, are you?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
I want to make sure that we maintain the integrity of the program and of the competition.
Yes.
Here's another one. Now, this one's not quite so bizarre, but it really, really is an interesting question. Question number 3. The WWE Championship match between Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 19 was the first WrestleMania main event to feature 2 competitors who used their actual real names. So this means in all the history of WrestleMania up to that point, this was the only time that there was a WWE Championship match between guys that weren't using stage names. Is that kayfabe or is that kayfake?
Let's see here. Going through this quickly in my head, trying to do a quick scan in my head, I'm going to say that is kayfabe, and that's true.
You are right, sir. Absolutely. Jeez, man. I can't seem to get anything past you here. Well, good work. Here comes number 4. And this one's a funny one. And actually it made me laugh right when I heard it. Question number 4. Ric Flair was once so drunk during a 1996 house show match that he accidentally fondled a male referee, thinking that the diminutive ref was actually a woman. Now, the backstory here is that the guy reffing this match was actually a very petite man, and Rick was, being Rick, and actually groped him in front of the crowd. Kayfabe or kayfake?
Even though it does sound believable, I'm going to say it's Kayfake.
Oh, Sean, I swear you're cheating. I swear you're cheating. And I can't say that. You wouldn't do that. But
No, I'm not cheating at all.
Well, good, sir. You have like a sixth sense. You're like Bruce Willis.
I try.
Okay, here's another one. We got a couple questions left here. This one, when I read it out to you, is going to make you laugh, but I want you to really think about it. The Ultimate Warrior liked to sniff crushed cookies while in the locker room. He liked to have crushed cookies in his hand, which he would inhale and sniff. Is this kayfabe or is this kayfake?
I'm going to answer with the straight face. I'm going to say, because knowing the time frame as we do, and other issues within that time frame in the 1980s, that he may have been sniffing something else in the locker room that's a little more serious than others. But I'm going to say that might be kayfake.
Oh, I finally got you. That is kayfabe. Now, this is according to an interview with Bret Hart, where he was talking about strange things that happened in the locker room. And Bret said that the Ultimate Warrior in the locker room would often walk around with cookies in his hand. He'd crush them into dust and take a big sniff. And according to the Warrior, it was because he got the same feeling from simply smelling the cookie as he would get from eating it. And so he didn't have to get any of the calories, but he could feel like he ate the cookie. So, Sean, we got you on one. Now, this is according to Bret, and I'm not going to say that Bret would lie about something like that. So
no, I don't think so.
We're going to go with Bret on that. So, okay, you got your first one wrong, but now the pressure's off. Off. It doesn't matter. You couldn't. I mean, who's going to go for 100%? It's just
that's right. You just can't.
There'd be no drama if you got every single one right.
No, of course not.
2 questions to go, Sean.
Okay.
During a Japanese death match with Shoji Nakamaki, legendary WWE superstar Mick Foley bludgeoned his opponent with a bag of stale rice dumplings. Kayfabe or kayfake?
I believe that I may have heard Foley actually say this in an interview, so I'm thinking it's kayfabe.
You are on a slump, sir. That is Kayfake. I just made that up off the top of my head. Listen, I'm going to say this to our listeners out there, and especially if there's anyone that's connected with Mick Foley. If it turns out that is true, I will amend my score on this. Somehow I've plucked this out of the ether, and to the best of my knowledge, it is fake.
Oh.
Here's the very last one, Sean. You got to brace yourself for this one because this is a bit of a stomach turner. Okay?
Okay.
During a house match with Jake Roberts, Andre the Giant once sat on Roberts' chest and passed gas continuously for more than 30 seconds. So let's just re-summarize this, and I need you to really know details. During a house match, Andre sat on Jake the Snake's chest and farted for more than 30 seconds continuously without stopping.
Okay, here's this to me has parts in it. There are parts that I can believe are true and other parts that I'm not so sure about. The part that I believe is true is that he could have sat on Jake and passed gas. That is entirely logical to me. However, I'm going to go with Kayfake because I do not think it was for 30 seconds continuously. Because I don't know anybody that can actually do that.
Well, we're going to have to go with Jake on this because according to Jake the Snake Roberts, this is true.
Oh my God.
Apparently they were working a house show loop, and Bobby Heenan came up to Jake before the match laughing and said that he and Andre had just gone out and eaten a really spicy curry.
Oh,
During
no.
the match, according to Jake, Andre sat on Jake's chest and then let loose a tremendous fart, which according to Jake, no, this is quoting him, lasted around 40 seconds. So there you go, man. So I'm sorry, Sean, you did get a few wrong. But you know what? It doesn't matter because we had some fun.
Oh my God, that's so much fun. Oh my God.
And for your rookie attempt at this, Sean, this is the very first time we've done this segment. I think you made a great account of yourself. So folks, let's give a big round of applause for our good friend Shan Cunningham for being a good sport and really for the ones you got wrong, Sean. They were all well rationalized. It's like they made sense. So you have nothing to be ashamed of. Anyways, folks, that's Kayfabe or Kayfake, and we're going to be doing that segment again in the future.
Yeah,
now,
that was fun.
I think we need to get back to serious stuff for a moment here, Sean.
For a minute.
Because we've been holding our tongue about something pretty serious.
Yes.
That happened right after the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Well, I guess the timelines are something we're going to have to discuss. It did happen within proximity. Whether it happened before, whether it happened right after or the day after, we don't know. Sean, I'm going to let you talk to the fans about what happened for those that don't know, and then we're going to try to sort out this crazy, muddled story behind it.
Well, here's what we know is that Roman Reigns failed a drug test under the wellness policy, and as his first offense is suspended for 30 days. That news did not come out to us or anybody else until Tuesday of this week. And what we've now seen is they did Money in the Bank, and Roman dropped the belt, and they put it on Seth and then Dean, as we discussed. But then on Monday night, before the suspension was announced, Roman and Seth had a match that ended in a double countout that put both Roman and Seth in a triple threat match at Battleground against Dean for the title. And as far as I know, that match is still booked.
And so let's do the math here, Sean. Before we go backward in time, let's go forward in time a little bit. According to the date that they have announced his suspension as starting, he will be eligible to be at Battleground. Is that correct?
That is correct. The suspension was announced on June the 21st, which 30 days will put him at July 21st, which is Battleground is 3 days later.
So that's not, he's not going to be part of the build for this.
No.
And this, let's just look at this with some perspective. This isn't, Kevin Owens or Cesaro or Sami Zayn, and we bad enough if any of those guys did, getting a wellness violation. This is the guy who was the golden boy, groomed to be the new John Cena, groomed to have all the funding and the support of the office behind him. And as champion, while he's champion, we can only assume, I'm going to assume that he was caught while he was still champion, and that led into the way the match was booked. He is booked. He is hit with a wellness violation. As our good friend Luke Force pointed out in some of our private discussions we've had over the past couple of days, being the new John Cena doesn't just mean selling merchandise, and it doesn't just mean being the face of the company. It means being squeaky clean when they can't get one thing on you. Roman's already blown that now.
Yeah.
So let's do a little bit of investigative journalism here, Sean, or a little bit of an investigative discussion. Do you think that they knew before Battleground that he had failed? Do you think that, I guess what I want to say is, do you think that Ambrose becoming champion was purely because Roman was going down, or do you think that maybe they just sped up a long-term plan?
No, I think Ambrose becoming champion is absolutely a product of the Roman suspension. Ambrose becoming champion now. Let me preface that. Ambrose becoming champion now, or Sunday night, is completely a product of Roman being suspended 2 days later. The only thing that doesn't make any sense is, why would you book him, A, on Monday in a match, and B, in turn, put him in a triple threat match? But like we've just said, if the dates line up, it works. And going back to, you're talking about him not being there for the build.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not really sure about Battleground, and I'm sad that they're throwing away the Shield triple threat in this way, because most of this build for Battleground won't really be about Battleground.
Yeah.
It'll be about the draft, which is 5 days before.
Exactly. It seemed, again, in typical WWE fashion, there's something that they'd rushed. As soon as I heard they'd booked this triple threat, I'm like, what, already? No, not now. I mean, save it till SummerSlam. Drag this out. Have them fight in different kind of singles matches or something like this. But don't throw the three of them together at kind of a B-grade pay-per-view like Battleground. So, yeah, I was a little bit shocked. That was the only thing that made me feel that Roman hadn't failed the wellness violation until after that. I still think that he had failed it earlier. I think that Ambrose becoming champion was hopefully something that they'd planned on anyway, and that they just sped it up. And I think that Dean can be a really great champion. It's nice. This is the first time that I can remember in a while that we have a chance to have a consistent run with a guy that the fans are actually behind at the top. Because, I mean, when was the last time? I mean, you don't count Brock, because Brock's a monster, and his mystique and his crowd support is different than guys like
his championship run was different from anything we've seen in 20 years.
Exactly. And the fans react to him differently than they react to a Dean Ambrose or a Daniel Bryan. They really get behind Ambrose, and I'm really excited. At least I'm hoping it's not a short term. I'm hope that they're going to let him have a longer run. But it's so nice to see the response of the fans lining up with the position on the card that these guys are wrestling now. So do you think he's just a placeholder, Dean Ambrose, or do you think that maybe as they move into this era, they're starting to recognize what they've got?
I am hopeful that they recognize what they have, and I hope they recognize what they didn't truly have with Roman. To no fault of Roman's, and we said that numerous times. Roman just couldn't get over.
And it's worth saying right now, and I've said it before, yeah, you're right. I hold nothing against Roman for this. This is not Roman's fault. They clipped his wings. The worst thing that they ever did with Roman Reigns, and they tried to fix it lately, but it's not been enough, was to have him seemingly ignore the response of the crowd. It's gotta suck when you're supposed to be a face. The fans are booing you out of the building, and all you can do is kind of shrug your shoulders and be like the nice guy who says it doesn't bother him. I think that makes you look weak, and that really hurt Roman. Lately, they've been having him get a few digs in this sort of pseudo-tweener character that they tried to kind of compromise with that didn't work either.
But I think Roman being away is a good thing, and it forces their hand to go with, like, I hate to say this, but very typical wrestling booking, instead of trying to be trendy for the sake of being trendy. Like, that was, I think, it was the Vince feud with the fans that's been going on for 3 years. It's something we've brought up numerous times as well. May finally be over, at least for a time.
Yeah, at least for a time, because the thing is, I don't think after failing a wellness violation and really dropping the ball at a crucial time for him, that the office is going to put him back in that position again. And that's good for everybody, especially for Roman Reigns. This could be them kind of loosening up the leash on him a little bit and going, you know what? The fans hate you. You screwed up. You're going away. Come back and be a heel. I think that would inject even more into this three-way feud that they're doing with Roman Roman and Seth and Ambrose. It would be great if Roman turned heel and at some point Seth and Dean were actually on the same page.
Yeah, and I think eventually I think that's where we're going, and ultimately where we're going, and I believe this wholeheartedly, and I've not read anything to verify this in any way. The Shield's getting back together.
I think eventually you're right. I think you are right. I think maybe they've seen, and this is nothing against Seth Rollins either, but I think that they're starting to realize that when they had the Shield, they had something that was larger than the sum of its parts. I love Ambrose as a singles wrestler. He's a fantastic wrestler. I love Seth as a singles wrestler as well. But those three were magic when they were together, and it ended too soon.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that maybe this is all just an experiment, and they put the three of them back together at some point. Either all faces or all heels, I don't care. But put the three of them back together again and let them run the course with this and not bail out on it early.
Yeah. Because at some level, also putting the Shield back together helps the rest of the locker room because it's all built-in stories. It's more stories and more work, and it would help stuff like the New Day or the Wyatts or any of those other groups that you may form.
Automatically, when you have a stronger faction out there, it's going to allow them to tell more stories. So what do you think? So, I want to tap into your intuition because we all know, Sean, that you have kind of a almost pseudo-psychic ability to predict the future of wrestling. I want to see what do you think is going to happen at Battleground? Do you actually think that Roman will be there? And if he is, what do you think the outcome is?
I gotta think they gotta find a way to keep it on Dean. They gotta stay with the hot hand.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you do that. I wouldn't be shocked if Roman is there at Battleground and in the match and somehow takes the fall.
Yeah, I think as punishment that would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you could kind of, I wouldn't mind if they did a program with Ambrose and Rollins. I know that they did it before, but it's a whole different animal now. And then have Dean sort of struggling to keep his title against the hungry returning Rollins. Let's just put it in your head this way: you're Dean Ambrose. How do you beat Seth Rollins?
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly how you build it for a month.
If I'm Dean Ambrose, do you know how I beat Seth Rollins? A dance off.
I challenge you to a dance off.
Yeah,
a dance off right now.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I love Rollins, but he's stiff. I just have a feeling he has no rhythm. We already know Dean can sing. I bet he can dance too.
Yeah. Or you could go with Who Has the Hotter Girlfriend. That works too.
Now okay, wait. I know who Ambrose is, but who's Rollins?
Well, wasn't Rollins dating one of the NXT girls or something, or chick or something?
And then she got fired, didn't she?
She got fired or something. I don't know. But I would argue that Dean might have the better looking date.
Yeah, and she's so fun, eh? I love. Do you ever watch WWE Game Night?
I haven't watched it in a while, but I've seen it.
My kids absolutely adore it. And
so much fun.
Renee was on there with Cesaro and Curtis Axel doing a donut eating contest, and it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Okay, I need to find that.
So good for Ambrose. Good for Ambrose. Listen, do we have anything else to talk about this Roman thing? Are we covered?
I think we're covered for now until we get some more information.
Because, yeah, that's really going to be the thing. As the information comes out over the next few weeks, we're going to be able to speculate more. And I think the timeline on all this is going to become a little more apparent. And I think once we know the timeline, we'll be able to figure out, how much of the booking has been influenced by Roman dropping the ball. And again, not being mean to Roman, it's going to be the best thing for him. But in the eyes of the office, he has to be seen now, finally, as a flop.
For now. Because understand, I go back to the site of Jeff Hardy had 2 wellness violations, and they still put the title on.
Exactly. And I think Roman's still a property, too. He just has not been used properly. So if they use him down the road, I think he could be something again.
Absolutely.
So look, folks, we're moving into a segment now, and this is a segment I always look forward to. As you know, my dear friend, Sean Cunningham, the Commissioner Sean Cunningham, is one of the most well-read, most well-respected men in wrestling journalism. Right now, we're going to enter into a segment called The Commissioner's Report. Sean's going to hit on a topic that's sort of leading the news these days, or a new speculation, and we're going to kind of work through this. So, Sean, I'm going to turn it over to you with The Commissioner's Report.
Thank you very much. And on the first episode of The Commissioner's Report, what I want to talk about is the length of shows in terms of what we call special events or pay-per-views, and in the way that we consume them. Right now, with WWE Network as well as New Japan World, we're being told to consume things online I think, in a different way. We're going away from traditional television and timing and schedule and those kind of things. And I noticed that shows are getting longer. We spent time talking about how long WrestleMania was. At a large amount of time, how long WrestleMania was it when you factor a pre-show 7 hours long. We went to going into Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank, when you factor in pre-show, went almost 4.5 hours long.
Wow.
And New Japan is commonly doing 3.5, 4-hour, 5-hour shows that are all available streaming online, that are available to you live, but are then available to you on demand later on. Now, I personally, as a wrestler, have a tough time sitting for 4 straight, 4.5, 5 hours to watch these things live straight through. I don't know about anybody else in the room, but to sit for that long and not miss something is really tough.
Me too, Sean. That's exactly it. I've made no secret out of the fact that with the exception of a few really key shows, I tend to watch these things after. I tend to watch these things on my own time when I can fast forward, pause, do what I want. I do not have the constitution to sit through a long show. And part of that's just been from kind of years of WWE pay-per-views that stumbled and kind of fumbled along. And so you'd sit there for 3.5 hours and go, God, why didn't I get up and make a sandwich? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's exactly the feeling. So, I mean, I'm certainly part of a demographic that will be watching this stuff either, delayed or out of sequence or at my own pace. And do you think so? So you think maybe that's where they're kind of angling all this stuff, that they realize that their audience is changing?
I pose the question: either A, is the audience changing, or B, are the promoters and promotions trying to recondition the audience?
Well, that's true. And you know what? Reconditioning the audience to this kind of viewing habit helps the network. It kind of feels like a weird conspiracy theory where everything is designed to help the network, doesn't it?
Oh, I don't deny that it is. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think it's factual.
Yeah.
But I wonder, it's interesting to me because when I look at it, what do I look forward to watching? And this is something, I grew up in the 80s with the 1 hour block of show, and then you go to the next show or whatever on a different channel, maybe.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what are the 2 shows I look forward to watching every week? ROH and NXT.
Yeah.
And why? Because I can get through them in an hour.
You know what? And I've been saying this before, and I'm going to reiterate it right now. Those 2 shows tell a better story than the bloated 3-hour Raw or 2-hour. I'm assuming, have we figured out yet if SmackDown's going to 3 hours?
Not yet. It looks like it's stayed for 2.
But regardless, even at 2 hours, these shows are bloated. They meander,
Yeah.
They kind of stumble around. And whereas I really prefer the really lean, tight shows that they put together for NXT and ROH. So I'm with you on that one.
But I also get if you're conditioning your fan base to not, you want them to watch live to a point, but it doesn't change your bottom line if you're New Japan or WWE, because that subscription is already paid for right now. Okay, you've already paid your $9.99 or $11 or $12 or depending on what part of the world you're in. So my question is, do they care if you watch it live? Or are we all being conditioned to watch it on demand or in segments?
I kind of wonder, Sean, if somebody in the communications department or the marketing department there has sat down and kind of looked into the crystal ball and seen that really is where everything is headed ultimately anyway. Because they kind of resisted internet stuff for a long time. They didn't really embrace a social media presence for a long time. And then once they did, they made a big one. But I kind of wonder, Sean, if you're onto something here, that they really are switching the mindset of everything over to on-demand segments, things that more work with their YouTube shows and with the network and stuff like that, and just slowly sliding away from televised, regular television ideas.
Well, the other thing I noticed too, if you look at their numbers, every quarter they come out with the viewing patterns on the network. Same with when they're quarterly. And I think the percentage of people watching stuff on demand is somewhere around 65 to 70% of their viewership for their network is people watching, not necessarily watching the live stream, but watching an old piece of footage or something from 2 weeks ago or the last pay-per-view. So I wonder if they've actually started to change their strategy to that.
It could be. It could be. And I think that as we see, the pattern develop over time, we're going to get a better idea of whether that's true or not. But it certainly makes sense to me. And I don't think it's a bad strategy in a lot of ways.
No, I'm not thinking it's about. To me, it's more of the shocking change.
Mm-hmm.
To me, wrestling was always conditioned. You treated it like live sports. Like, I don't PVR in live sport. I can't. I either watch it or I don't.
Exactly.
But I don't record it. Raw and SmackDown, I can put on my PVR and go back and watch it in a couple days and be okay. And I haven't missed anything. Or it's not old as quickly as live sports get. But when I watch stuff on the network, it's like I tend to watch it in, here's an hour. So I'll watch an hour of this, and then I'll come back to it later.
You think, Sean, that maybe this is again playing into what we've seen, is that they have a fixation now with trying to work with the casual fan. And as much as you and I watch like that, the casual fan would certainly watch like that. You know what I mean? Watch it when they felt like it, a little bit here, a little bit there. I kind of wonder if maybe this plays into that mindset, that we know that they've been obsessed with the idea that the casual fan is going to solve all their problems.
But they've been obsessed with that for years.
I know.
What you want is that fan to spend their money, and they don't do it.
Yeah, it's true.
That's a whole other, twisted tirade about that. But I really want to bring that up because I noticed that the interviews keep getting either longer or skewed in the sense of, what was it, 4 hours and 20 minutes was when you factor in pre-show and when Money in the Bank went off the air.
Exactly. And you know what? And as we pointed out before, a lot of filler in that show.
Yep.
A lot of filler. So this wasn't an accident.
No.
So, well, I guess we'll keep our eyes on that, Sean. And again, keep your keen perception trained on this, and we'll see how it plays out as it goes forward. Thank you for the Commissioner's Report, my friend. Folks, we've got one more segment, and then we're going to be going off the air for this very first episode of the Run-In Show. This is a little segment we like to call, and we're going back to fun stuff again, it's called Promos Out of Context. And what that means is I'm going to read a classic wrestling promo, but I'm going to do it in sort of a stuffy, overdone Shakespearean voice, like William Shatner reading bad Shakespeare. Maybe we have Kenneth Branagh on an off day. So Ian McKellen, he's been hit in the head. And so basically what we're doing here is I'm going to read Sean a classic wrestling promo, but not in the style it was originally delivered. Sean is going to try to figure out who the original speaker of the promo was, and I may even ask him to figure out what it was in context to. Are you ready, Sean?
I am ready.
Let me just, I have to get into an actor's space for just a moment. Take a deep breath. All right, here I go. Promos out of context. As you, Hulk Hogan, travel to WrestleMania, by conventional means, the normals you travel with experience malfunctions. As you realize all that is left is self-destruction, do you, Hulk Hogan, show self-pity? Do you, Hulk Hogan, try to reason why? Do you, Hulk Hogan, try to comfort the normals that have even more fear than you? Or do you, Hulk Hogan, kick the doors out? Kick the cockpit door down. Take the two pilots that have already made the sacrifice so that you can face the challenge. Dispose of them, Hulk Hogan. Assume the controls, Hulk Hogan. Shove that control into a nosedive, Hulk Hogan. Push yourself to total self-destruction. As you realize, Hulk Hogan, that you are about to enter a world close to parts unknown. Now, Sean, did you recognize that promo?
I did.
And who was it?
That would be the Ultimate Warrior, I'm pretty sure.
You hit it right on the nose. And just for bonus points, what was this in relation to? What were they building towards?
Okay, there's that little voice in my head that wants to say Logic, which is WrestleMania 6. But I have this suspicion in the back of my brain that says it might have been one of those weird Nitro promos that led to Halloween Havoc 98.
I believe, my friend, you were right first, and it was the build towards WrestleMania.
Okay.
But you know what? I'm gonna forget you did the other part. I'm just gonna say you got it right, Sean. Congratulations. You're a good sport, man. Thanks for playing along with us. So look, we're at the end of the show.
Yes.
And give me your honest opinion. Did we do a good job?
I think we did an excellent job. We'll let the listeners and others decide how well we do.
Because by gosh, I had fun.
This is so much fun to do.
We had fun talking about the things we love.
Yes.
And I think overall we were pretty positive about it, don't you?
We're trying very hard to be positive and not be Bray Wyatt and confuse people.
Yeah, exactly. and it's a good time to be positive about wrestling. It feels like change is coming. They've been building up this new era. They've got the outrageous Cruiserweight Challenge tournament coming up.
Aren't you excited for that?
Oh my God, am I ever excited. And funny thing is, although this makes very little difference to what the show is going to be or what the performances will be like, I was really excited to hear that Daniel Bryan's going to be commentating it.
Well, isn't that going to be fun?
Oh my God, so glad. I'm so glad that they brought someone like Daniel Bryan, who has so much to offer as an analyst, as a color commentator, whatever you want to call it, and put him to good use. Because I listen when Bryan talks. And no offense to Jerry Lawler, who's obviously having a lot of legal problems right now.
Yeah.
But Jerry Lawler is the complete opposite of that. He tells bad dad jokes. He does not use what he's got going for him, which is years of experience, and he does not show anything relevant. So thank goodness. And who's Bryan commentating with?
Mauro Ranallo.
Oh my God! How could I have forgotten it was Mauro? Can you imagine what the show's going to be like?
Okay, we were talking about the other shows drag a little.
Yeah.
I'm going to be sad that the show's only an hour every week.
Exactly. And how many weeks does it run for, Sean? Do you remember? 10. Oh my
10
God.
Weeks.
We've got 10 weeks of this?
10 weeks that start in mid-July will go till September.
My God, that's going to be fantastic. Well, there's so much to look forward to, folks. We're going to be here to cover it with you. And as you may or may not know, the Run-In Show is named specifically because we're an unpredictable show. You never quite know when we're going to show up. But when we do, we're going to hit you with the big business. We're going to hit you with what's really going on. So we'll be back maybe in 2 weeks, maybe next week, maybe tomorrow if something really exciting happens. But we will be back. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you to you for joining us today. I want to say thanks from our band leader, Kenny Albatross, our announcer, Glenn Abernathy, and our esteemed producer, Mr. Rush Donahue. And from my co-host and just my great friend and the most respected man in wrestling journalism, Sean, thanks for being here today.
It was always fun. It always is when you and I get a chance to talk about wrestling.
Absolutely, buddy. So, folks, keep a lookout for us. Keep checking your social media. You'll know when we're coming. We'll see you next time. We are the Run-In Show. We're so unpredictable, you'll never see us coming. Have a good night, folks.
The Run-In Show has been recorded in front of a live, simulated audience. Music by Audionautics.com. This has been a Rush Donahue production.